Your day breaks, your mind aches, you find that all her words of kindness linger on when she no longer needs you. Hey, it's Nate with another piano tutorial. Today I'm doing For No One by the Beatles. It's one of Paul's saddest songs, but it's also incredibly catchy. Structurally, it's super simple. There's just two sections, verses and choruses. I am going to give you three different options for how to play the chorus: easy, medium, and hard. And I'll also show you how to play the French horn solo on the keyboard. Let's jump in. Okay, so a couple things up front. I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. I put a link down in the description. That'll help you follow along and see where the chords line up with the words. This song is in the key of B major, so all five sharps, the only white keys, are B and E, although in the chorus it does break out of that a little bit. And this is middle C, just for reference. Here's the chord progression for the verse. So we're starting out on a B chord. And we're gonna voice it like that. It's an inversion on a B major chord. So we've got a F sharp, a B with our middle finger, and then pinky can play this D sharp. And let's do the left hand together as well. We're gonna take our thumb and put it on a B lower bass note there to give it a little bit more power. So that's our B chord. Now, next we've got this C sharp minor over A sharp. And getting into that is really simple. The B here in the left hand is just going to step down to an A sharp. So it's the note after the slash that is the left hand bass note. And then in the right hand that's doing this B chord, we're just going to drop that middle note down to the A sharp. So the second finger hits the A sharp while we also have the F sharp and the D sharp still. So really smooth transition there. Next we've got a G sharp minor. So left hand's going to step down to a G sharp, middle black key there. And then we're gonna keep our pinky in the right hand on the D sharp. There's that G sharp minor. So we've got G sharp, of course, and then B and D sharp. Let's just do a couple more here. Then we've got B over F sharp. So left hand's gonna step down to the F sharp. And then we're gonna take this thumb and move it back to the F sharp. And right hand is back to doing the exact same thing we did in the first measure. It's that inverted B chord. Next up, we've got this E major chord. Left hand can just step down to the pinky on this E bass note. We're just gonna move our hand into a typical root position E major chord. That's a E, G sharp, and B. So real quick, big picture in the left hand, all we've done is just step down one finger at a time from B to E in the key of B, so with the three sharps in the middle. And the right hand is pretty smooth, like that, all kind of staying in the same zone. Jumping down to that E. Okay, there's only one other chord to talk about here, and that is the A major chord. Our second finger here in the left hand can hit an A bass note, and then for the right hand, we're gonna keep our thumb on that E where it was and just kind of stretch the hand open a little bit. We're gonna play this A major chord like that. E, A, and C sharp. Notice that this A note is actually stepping outside that key of B, and that's why it sounds a little bit surprising and kind of satisfying to the ear when it hits. Finally, we finish out the line by going back to the same exact B major chord we started, and there's two measures of that. And speaking of measures, we are in 4/4 time, so each one of these measures gets 4 counts. So we're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But while we're doing some counting, I'm just gonna do a little bit more of a rhythm here to make it sound like what Paul plays on the recording. On beat 1, I'm gonna play the left hand bass note, and then I'm gonna hold it for the rest of the measure. And then on beat 2, 3, and 4, I'm gonna hit the right hand chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can just continue down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, of course, you can add the words. The song just starts out, drops right into the verse. Your day breaks, your mind aches, you find that all the words of kindness linger on when she no longer needs you. And then it repeats around. She wakes up, she makes up. So just notice that if it repeats around to kind of another go round of verse lyrics, you end up doing 3 measures of B in a row because you got 2 at the end and then 1 again as you start the line again. And that's pretty much all there is to the verse. There is one little optional detail that's a little more tricky that we can do in the left hand whenever we have those 2 measures of B at the end. There's this little detail in the bass line. It sounds like this. When she no longer needs you, she wakes up, she makes up. So while we're hanging out, waiting for those measures of B, our thumb's here, and we go down to an F sharp, and then down to the low B, and then the same thing on the way up. So it's just kind of like root, fifth, and octave here, going back and forth. The rhythm, we need eighth notes, so we're thinking instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, we're thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, and that's where the pattern starts over again. So anytime you have the 2 measures of B, you can do that. If it's leading into a chorus instead of around again on a verse, it does the, but it doesn't do the go back up. It just kind of waits for the in her eyes you see nothing. We are in the chorus. Let's do it. So as I mentioned, I'm going to build the chorus up in 3 levels of difficulty to do the exact piano part from the recording and play the bass line with the left hand. It's really pretty tricky to play and sing. I had to practice it a good amount to be able to play it for you. So you should pick whatever level is most comfortable for you to be able to confidently play it and sing it. Here's the chord progression. We're going to start out with this C sharp minor chord, and we're going to do it in an inversion like this. It's going to be a G sharp, a C sharp, and an E. And we can do this pretty low C sharp bass note here. I'm just going to do it with my pinky. And then for the G sharp 7 chord, we're going to put our left hand thumb on G sharp. We can keep our right hand thumb on G sharp where it just was and stretch the right hand up a little bit to play a D sharp and an F sharp. So that's how we're going to voice that G sharp 7 chord. If you find that that's too big of a stretch for your right hand, you can also voice it like that with a C instead. I think that also sounds really good. That is a little more accurate to the recording, so that's what I'm going to do. And then we just go back, and there's 2 more measures of C sharp minor. Let's just stick on this line for a minute. We're going to keep doing that rhythm we've been doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a little detail that if you want to add it in, it lines up with the vocals where you go, the tears. You just kind of play along with what you sing there. So it would sound like, and in her eyes you see nothing. No sign of love behind the tears. Cried for no one. Same thing again. A love that should have lasted years. And then we've got this F sharp sus4, F sharp major. So to do that, we've got F sharp in the left hand, of course, and then the right hand is playing F sharp, B, and C sharp. And this just for 2 counts. 1, 2, and then we just drop that middle note down to the A sharp. 2, 3, 4, and that would be leading back into the next verse. So that's sort of level 1, and like I said, you can make it the easiest by doing that smaller voicing on the G sharp 7 and also omitting the. But if you do that, again, the timing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and then it would just loop right back around as the second line started. Okay, the next level up in difficulty would be to do the bass line with the left hand, and that's going to be the no sign of love behind the tears. So we've been going back and forth between the C sharp and the G sharp. When you're getting ready to do the bass line, which happens on those 2 measures of C sharp minor at the end of the line, hop to your 3rd finger because that's going to work out best for climbing up. And we're basically just going to kind of step up the scale. So using all the black keys and the E. So 3, 2, 1 in terms of the fingers. Cross to the 4th finger on the F sharp. 3, and then you can do thumb on the C, and then step to the C sharp there. And that's going to line up in the same place with the tears. No sign of love behind the tears. So all of those line up right on a note you're already singing, so that makes the rhythm a little easier. And I'm going to do everything else the same getting into it, so it'll be like, and in her eyes you see nothing. No sign of love behind the tears. And so I guess now we're doubling the tears with both hands. And while I was climbing up, I kind of stuck to the same rhythm in the right hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and is just the single notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and. And of course, when you do the 4 and, that is starting the second line around. And so we got the tears cried for no one. So instead of doing the low C sharp and going up to the G sharp this time, because we had ended up in the higher octave after doing the bass line, we kind of work our way down to then end up back on the third finger again for another pass up the bass line. So it's getting a little complicated, but let me just play that whole chorus one more time with this intermediate level 2 approach. And in her eyes you see nothing, no sign of love behind the tears, cried for no one, a love that should have lasted years. Then same thing for this. You want her. Then we would be going to a verse. Should we do the level 3? I'm going to go a little bit fast here because I assume if you're going to tackle the level 3, you're already pretty advanced and you came to this video to learn exactly what you heard on the record. This is what it's going to sound like. And in her eyes you see nothing, no sign of love behind the tears, cried for no one, a love that should have lasted years. All right, so the first difference is in the right hand, I'm going to do these eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's just going back and forth between the thumb on the lowest note of the chord and then third and fifth finger on the highest notes of the chords. 1 and starting with the lowest in the right hand, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and by the way, if that part is not too hard for you, but the part we're about to do is, you could incorporate this sort of back and forth fast thing into the second level of difficulty. Now, here's what the piano part plays on the recording. So that is, you come up here to a E and a G sharp, you do that twice, and it's lining up with no sign, stepping down on of, that's going to be a D sharp and a F sharp. I'm just stepping 3 and 5 as the fingers here, down to 2 and 4. Now, this is the really tricky part. You jump the hand down, and we're going to do these fourths here between G sharp and C sharp. I actually like doing this with the thumb and third finger, and you can imagine that we're going to that same C sharp minor chord we've been doing, but only doing the bottom 2 notes. We're going to do one more set of fourths where we're going to bring our thumb down to F sharp and use our second finger on the B. We're going to go right back up to that C sharp minor shape, but this time we're going to use the full 3 notes, so our pinky's going to play that E, and at that point we've gotten to that moment. So again, slowly with the words for context. No sign of love behind the tears. I never noticed that the piano part did that until I sat down to learn it, to teach it, and I was just like, wow, like Paul McCartney, you don't need to be that good at music. Anyway, of course, we're going to combine that with the left hand bass line. No sign of love behind the tears. Sounds really cool. Let's just connect that all through from the beginning. And in her eyes you see nothing. Oh, sign. So going into the no sign, No sun. I am gonna pivot off of that G sharp with my thumb one last time. No sign of love behind the tears, cry for no one. A love that should have lasted years. There, once you are at the end of the 2 lines and about to go to the F sharp bit, you can just go back to 2, 3, 4, no 8th notes there, and then we are in the next verse. All right, now you know all the chord progressions and piano parts for this song because there's no bridge. It doesn't go anywhere else with the chords. It's just more verses and choruses. There is that French horn solo, which I'll show you in a second, but that just happens over a regular old verse progression. Now, there's one other thing I want to mention, which is throughout the song, I've been using the sustain pedal. So just holding it down basically the whole time, but just doing a lift whenever the chord changes. Lift. Lift. Just smooths everything out. I made a video all about sustain pedal timing. If you need help with that, getting the muscle memory for it, check that out. I do want to mention on the chorus, if I'm doing the bass line, I'm not holding it down as I do that. You could do a lift on every note, but once I'm walking up that bass line, I'm just letting the sustain pedal be up and then putting it back down there with the lift. Okay, so the French horn solo, I debated whether I would even include this in the video because I think for most of you, it's probably going to make sense to just go around instrumentally for that section. But I figured a few of you would come to this video hoping to learn that solo. So I'm going to just demonstrate it and I'm going to go really quick. But if you want to learn it and you need to slow the video down, you can always click the little settings wheel and change this playback speed, put it to like 75% or 50%. Let me just demonstrate through how you might do it if you're just doing left-hand bass notes, and then I'll talk through it a little bit more in detail. It sounds like this. So it starts on an F sharp here with the thumb, and that actually happens leading into it towards the end of the verse before it. When you have the 2 measures of B, it hits right at the beginning of the second of those measures. Then as it loops around to the beginning of the progression, left hand's going to hit that B bass note to signal the start of that new line. And then we've got B, F sharp, B, D sharp, and I'm using those fingers there. Then when we step down to the A sharp for the next chord, the C sharp over A minor moment in the progression, we got going all the way up to a high F sharp with our 4th finger. F sharp, G sharp, F sharp, B. I'm using my 2nd finger on that B because in a second, right after we step down to this G sharp, we're gonna go back to this lower F sharp with the thumb. F sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp. Using 1, 2, 3, 5, and then we've got E, D sharp. I'm just using my 4th, 3rd finger. Now we're gonna step down to the F sharp bass note, and we're gonna have right at the same moment that chord changes, E with the 4th finger, D sharp, B, da da da, and then we're just gonna kind of cross over to this F sharp here. I'm gonna use my 2nd finger, F sharp, E, D sharp. So we had this kind of similar thing in 2 octaves. Okay, almost done. When we get to this E here, again, the right hand note's gonna hit at the same time as the chord change. E, G sharp, B, B. That part's a little easier. We're just kind of skipping up an E major chord. The horn does articulate that B twice. Da, 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 da. Then we move to that A chord. So in this case, just the bass note is changing. And that happens on its own before. A, G sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, just 4, 3, 4, 3, 2. Then we're towards the end for the next 2 measures, we're on B in the left hand. G sharp, F, E, F sharp, E, D sharp, F sharp, so kind of just crossing my second finger over it for the D sharp, F sharp, and then we've got this final run here. So B again, and then left or right hand's gonna come down to this B, and we've got B, C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, B. So there's 5 notes there. I'm using one of each finger. That's a big stretch though. It's a little tricky. And that's on and in her eyes. Then that's going into the next chorus. I'm gonna play it one more time at a medium speed. Let's just imagine we're coming out of the end of verse 3. When she says her love is dead, you think she needs you. So that's the moment where it comes in rhythmically. All right, cool. So thank you for watching this far. I'm now going to do a full cover so you can see how all of that fits together in the full arrangement. So I talked about 3 levels of difficulty for the chorus. Now, conveniently, there are 3 choruses in the song, so I'm just going to play each version, and I'll get more difficult as the song goes on. If you enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this. Also, leave a request in the comments, and this one was a request. I am always delighted to do a Beatles song. Anyway, here's my version of For No One. Your day breaks, your mind aches, you find that all her words of kindness linger on when she no longer needs you. She wakes up, she makes up, she takes her time and doesn't feel she has to hurry. She no longer needs you, and in her eyes you see nothing. No sign of love behind the tears, cried for no one. A love that should have lasted years. You want her, you need her, and yet you don't believe her when she says her love is dead. You think she needs you. And in her eyes you see nothing. No sign of love behind the tears, cried for no one. A love that should have lasted years. You stay home, she goes out. She says that long ago she knew someone, but now he's gone, she doesn't need him. Your day breaks, your mind aches. There will be times when all the things she said will fill your head.